It's the Infinite Podcast. Go tell your friends. It's the Infinite Podcast. My God, it never ends. It's the Infinite Podcast with Rob and Cork the Kid.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Project Infinite Podcast, the podcast covering the infinite and ever-expanding multiverse of fandom from movies, comics, TV shows, video games. We've got you covered. I'm Rob. I'm here, as always, with Court. Court, I was going to ask you how you're doing this week.
Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. Don't ask me that. I'm emotionally distraught.
Oh, man, yeah. So, once again, we're keeping steady with our Last of Us reviews.
I thought you watched Morbius. That's why I was.
That's why you're emotionally distraught?
Right. When he says I am Morbius, it really gets me in the feels every time.
Really hits you where it hurts.
Yeah. Just like it hit Michael Keaton where it hurts when he decided to sign on for that movie.
What was he thinking?
What was he thinking?
I don't know, man. But, yeah, we're talking about The Last of Us again because episode 3 was, even before the season came out, was one of the most, I guess, highly rated, reviewed, things that people had seen of, like, whatever was shown to the press early on. And they were like, wait till you see episode 3. And then, people figured out that it was going to be Bill's episode starring Nick Offerman. And there was a lot of preconceived notions of what that was going to look like. And, it subverted every bit of those expectations in the most magnificent way. And what is not even hyperbole to say, one of the best episodes of television ever.
I mean, it's why we tell stories, right? Is the exact feeling I got from the end of this. After the crying was over, that's what I got from this. This is the beauty behind why we tell these stories and why, storytelling is so important, because we don't get something this beautiful without somebody sitting down at the page and, making sure this gets told. It was surprising. It came out of left field, like how good this was. The quality of show making is still at the highest it can be with a show like this too, but it understands that emotional core, and it understands the, one of the key principles of storytelling is the vessel that you need, and that's through character.
Yeah, it was just a masterclass in so many different things when it comes to storytelling and writing and directing and just, it's insane to say about it, because it's an episode of a show where your main characters are not even really in it. Mm-hmm. And it's a story essentially about these two side characters, background characters, in what's essentially a bottle episode. Pretty much takes place pretty much in one location for the entirety of the episode, and just really focuses on character and those beautiful moments between two people falling in love.
I think beautiful is an understatement for just how incredibly it was captured in this episode yesterday. I usually, I'll watch breakdowns, I'll, just to make sure like I'm ready for this, I'll, listen to a whole bunch of, some podcasts here or there just to kind of get ready, because this is still my most anticipated show from this year, and it's not disappointing, but I didn't do any of that yesterday or today. I sat with this because it's that feeling, like it's just this naturally organic feeling that you only get once in a blue moon, and this episode gave me that. I didn't think I would, you could feel something like that.
Yeah.
It's super rare, and it's just by understanding that, breaking the expectation from what the game is, and like this is the perfect example of this is its own show. This is gonna pull, heavily from that. It's what it's inspired from, but this is its own universe. This is its own thing, and the decision making was on point.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to talk about that as far as like, because this is a massive diversion from the game in terms of Bill's story. Compared to the show. So we'll definitely dive into that. But first, we do have some news. And unfortunately, we're starting with a pair of passings, in a weird kind of group of passings with, what these two actresses were attached to. So Lisa Loring died at the age of 64. Obviously, most well known for Wednesday Addams and her portrayal of Wednesday Addams in the Addams Family. Obviously, a character that is much at the forefront of a lot of things right now with Jenna Ortega's portrayal in the Netflix series, and one of the most iconic characters in fiction, really, Wednesday Addams. So that's super sad. I mean, she was a staple of pop culture for the longest time, which is kind of crazy to say about a character that was fomented in the 60s. You know what I mean? Like Wednesday Addams, like endured. You know what I mean? So, just super sad. And then another blow across the bow was Annie Wersching. So, live action wise, she was known for her roles in 24, her roles in Timeless. But, for the purposes of this discussion, she was the voice actress and mocap actress for Tess in the Last of Us video game. She passed away at the age of 45, battled with cancer that I don't think a lot of people knew about. And, man, just super, super sad, especially, with the boon that The Last of Us is having right now,
Yeah, I mean, cancer's a B, and that's never, ever going to change. And it's super unfortunate. I mean, 45 is the thing that really hurts. I mean, how I knew her, and I didn't even know she was Tess. I knew her as Carolina's mom in The Runaways. That's how I knew her. Yeah. And I mean, previously, my family was huge into 24. That's how I originally knew her as Renee Walker from 24 too. So it's just, it's insane that somebody that young, and I say 45 and young because
it is young.
Her life's not supposed to be over at that point. It's just, it's unfortunate. They suck every single time. There's no way to go about this. They hurt and they suck every time. Yeah.
And I mean, if you want to see kind of her performance as Tess, they did that Last of Us, live show where it was Troy Baker and Ashley Johnson and Annie Wersching did kind of like select scenes that took you through the story of the game, and they did it as a stage production. Merle Dandridge was a part of it also, and it was really, 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 really cool to see those four kind of bring their characters to the stage. Obviously Merle Dandridge is playing Marlene in the show, but it was it was cool seeing all those memorable scenes played out by the actors, instead of just the characters on the screen. But just super unfortunate. 45, man, is just that's too young.
It's not young.
So transitioning from that is never easy, but we did get the Oscar nominations. I'll just kind of open the floor to you to talk about just some quick things that stood out for you.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest things, I mean, we could start with, what the general public would kind of go for, and that's the Best Picture and then the Best Actor noms. So the 10 nominations are All Quiet on the Western Front, which is, been heralded as like this year's 1917, essentially. I mean, from a different perspective and in a different era, but still same concept. We have Avatar: The Way of Water, gotten that top 10, and they did use all 10 slots, which, some years were kind of, they were kind of ridiculed for not using all 10 spots. We have The Banshees of Inisherin, one of my favorite movies from this whole bunch. Elvis is on here. Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, there's no surprise there. The Fablemans as well, no surprise there. Tar, Kate Blanchett's and Todd Fields, their movies on there. Top Gun Maverick made the list for this. Triangle of Sadness got in here, and Woman Talking. So that's the top 10. And from that list, we're going to get pointed out, who's going to hold that very coveted place of top movie of 2022. Anything on there that's kind of like you want to win, or?
I mean, we talked a while back when we did our Top Gun review that this could be a Best Picture nominee. And I thought this movie, and I guess Avatar too at this point, has done the same thing that Top Gun did, where it threaded that needle of critical and commercial success, which I feel like in terms of like a Best Picture, I feel like that should matter. A lot of people made a big deal about Spider-Man No Way Home last year, but that was more of the financial thing, whereas I feel like Top Gun and Avatar genuinely have a case for critical and commercial success. And at the end of the day, I feel like that should matter. And I mean, neither of those movies feel cheap in comparison to these other ones.
Sure.
So, and I mean, to be honest, Avatar is kind of at the forefront of a lot of things right now. So it's going to be interesting how that kind of recency bias plays into it also.
Yeah. I mean, the only thing I'll disagree with, just in my opinion, is just the money thing. I don't think I'll ever change to being a believer in that money should equate to you being in that conversation for Best Picture. Yes, people are going to see your movie, but I don't think it's just comparatively you look. Like, if something like The Banshees of Inisherin doesn't make as much money as you, which movie is better? I don't think those two things equate, and that's just me personally. I understand the argument. If the movie's successful, that's like playing basketball. If you score more points than somebody, you're gonna win the game. You know what I mean? But I think there's other facets, and that's why we call it art and not something that's more definitive. So from that list, just looking at this, I think the movie with the biggest claim, and it's had this late game run, is Everything Everywhere All at Once. I mean, Ke Huy Quan is really picking up steam for potentially winning this Best Supporting Actor, and I genuinely believe at this point he's going to actually win it. Brandon Gleeson, I think, is the only other person in that category, and I guess we could just jump right to there. So the Best Supporting Actors this year, I just said two of them. So we have Ke Huy Quan. I think he said in an interview that's not how you pronounce his name. It's like Ke Huy or something like that.
Which would make sense for that kind of pronunciation, yeah.
So the Best Actor noms that we have are Brendan Gleeson for Banshees of Inisherin. I do want to talk about that movie in a second. Also Barry Keoghan for how do you pronounce? You know how to pronounce his last name correctly?
It's Keoghan, yeah.
Yeah, we were right this whole time.
This whole time we were right.
We knew it.
I loved it.
I tried to tell everybody too. Judd Hirsch, classic actor Judd Hirsch for The Fabelmans, and my surprise and just overjoyed pick in the supporting actor is Brian Tyree Henry for Causeway, a movie I watched earlier this year too, and I'm so glad that he's getting his recognition. The Eternals boys are in that Best Supporting nom, so that's awesome right there. And then we can go right to actress as well. And I think this actress one is going to be a little bit of a battleground in the supporting, where I don't even think it's a competition for the leading actress. So it's Angela Bassett for Black Panther,
first MCU actor to get an acting nom.
Yep. Hong Chow for The Whale, and she came in an immediate impact in that film as well. Carrie Condon, which for me personally, that's my personal pick for Best Supporting Actress right now. Jamie Lee Curtis and Stephanie Sue for Everything Everywhere All at Once. I'm just so glad Jamie Lee Curtis is there. Look, I don't think she should really be there, but I'm just very glad that she's there. I think that's pretty cool that they kind of gave her that. And then the Best Supporting Actor and Actress, those are the ones that everybody wants to know about. So the Best Supporting Actresses this year are going to be Cate Blanchett for Tar.
Lead actress,
yes.
Yeah.
This is the big one. Andrea Riseborough came out of left field for these nominations. Michelle Williams and Michelle Yeoh were the two that people kind of knew. And the last spot on there is Anne de Armas. Again, people somewhat confused, not somewhat, there's a lot of people confused as to why she's in this list too. So yeah, I don't think this is a competition. I think it's Cate Blanchett, and there's not even Michelle Yeoh is the only other person that can, get a yell out there, but I don't think it's close. I think Cate Blanchett, I personally think Cate Blanchett delivered the best performance of 2022 period, for either category. And then the actors this year are Austin Butler, obviously, for Elvis, Colin Farrell for Banshees of Inisherin, Bill Knight for Living, Brendan Fraser for The Whale, obviously, and the one that warmed this cold old heart was Paul Mescal for After Sun. I'm so glad he's in there. I think the way that Timothée Chalamet and Jonathan Majors and Florence Pugh are going, I also think Paul Mescal is going on that same route right there. And your Daisy Edgar Jones is they obviously Paul Mescal and Daisy Edgar Jones worked together before, but I do think that he's on that echelon where he's going to be constantly working this person that's going to. I think this is the first of many nominations and possibly some wins because he's still young, and he had such this nuanced and beautiful performance in After Sun. I'm so glad he's getting that recognition. But I do think, again, that whole way of looking at it of your run and your campaigning, I do think that this is Brandon Fraser's reward to lose at this point too. And I guess we can talk about directing because that's another one that people will usually always talk about. We have Todd Field for Tar. We have Obviously, we have the Daniels for Everything Everywhere All at Once, Steven Spielberg for The Fabelmans, Ruben Östlund for Triangle of Sadness, and Martin McDonagh for Banshees of Inisherin. My dark horse, because you're thinking about the concept of, you know, what a director does, and it's such a broad field of kind of, and there's a lot of jurisdictions that they have on a film set. If you want to talk about the actual direction of actors, I think Martin McDonagh did the best job of that this year, and kind of that whole idea of like, you know, you have your technical aspect, but you also have the actor side, like the characters that we love. And I think he wrote the best characters this year. And I think they had the best performances. And, you know, a lot of that goes down to your director that you choose as well. He has a huge background in theater. And I think that you watch Banshees of Inisherin, you definitely understand that. The Fabelmans, I mean, it's Steven Spielberg. It's like having LeBron James. Like, it's the best person. It's like one of the best people just doing what they all had been doing for so long. But I think what helps him this year is, and why I personally think he's going to win this category, is because it's the most personal film that he's had in his life. Like, this is kind of, it's funny how the culmination is not like the biggest movie he's ever done, or, you know, the most like, you know, outlandish movie he's ever done. It's more of a personal film. It's a film about him falling in love with movies and more of the family drama aspect of his life too. I think that's something that definitely, you know, is going to help him out. Todd Field had like an almost like Martin Scorsese type of, you know, approach to this movie in terms of like, you know, your character kind of having this character study of, you know, this not amazing person, Lydia Tarr. So I think he did a great job with, like, as Martin McDonagh had this, you know, this ensemble. I think Todd Field did a good job with a singular character and kind of, you know, helping Cate Blanchett, you know, ascend to what I think is the best performance of this year too. So in that category, I still think it's Steven Spielberg. Missing stuff, I mean, Decision to Leave in the international film is the big one for me. It was, in my opinion, supposed to be a battle between that and All Quiet on the Western Front, and it's just, I'm just a little bit perplexed that I personally think Decision to Leave also could have had a claim for Best Picture this year. It was one of the best movies that I saw, so it's a little unfortunate that it's not there. I guess cinematography, the big one that's missing, or the big is the Batman. I don't understand how you look at a movie like that and you just, it's not there. Empire of Light's there, and I mean, it's because it's Roger Deakins is there. You don't tell that guy no if anytime he makes a movie and you go to that category as well. But I'm a little, it's just a little frustrating that the Batman didn't get the love I thought it was going to get this year. I thought that movie was going to get a lot more, you know, praise and love at this time of year. Yeah,
it's kind of interesting that Black Panther kind of moved in on Batman's territory a little bit in terms of like Oscar nominations. Right. I didn't expect that. You know, I expected the Batman to kind of be the more kind of Oscar-worthy kind of movie, but, you know, the Oscars disagreed.
Yeah, and my big one, and this is my thing about And Arms, I feel like there were two performances that should have had that place, and it's Margot Robbie for Babylon. Babylon, again, is a lot like Decision to Leave. I'm very confused as to, like, I actually am not as confused as why Babylon's not there as I am for Decision to Leave. I think Babylon, like I said when I talked about it, it's such this, like, brash and, like, loud and, like, crazy movie, but the core of that movie is still as beautiful as any Damien Chazelle movie that he's done. It's like, that doesn't get, that's the whole point of the thing, of like how crazy Hollywood could be. That dream that the main character had in that movie, like, that's what it is. That love of cinema is what kind of is the core of that movie too. So I don't know how they look at a movie like that and they're just like, no, we're gonna put Elvis in the Best Picture category.
Ouch.
Yeah,
we're also gonna put Elvis in the Best Cinematography category.
I think we have similar thoughts on this Elvis movie.
I don't know. It was fine.
Yeah, this is me and us personally, but I don't look at that movie and think Best Picture of the Year. I just think Baz Luhrmann's Baz Luhrmann. I think that helps a lot, and it also helps that in that movie you also had a potential Best Actor in there. Yeah. And it's Elvis Presley as well. Like, it's a tough biopic to ignore for something like this, you know? Like, a movie like this is curated for the Oscars, but I'll preface this with two things. A, I haven't seen anything yet, and I don't want to give too many thoughts. We're going to have an Oscar pre-show like we did last year, and I have my list made, and I'm actually pretty deep into this one, as much better than I was last year, so I'll be done by the time March rolls around and we do this Oscars pre-show. Two, this isn't the point of movies and cinema and film. This isn't the point. Unfortunately I think has happened is what we've got away from is like the celebration, and what we've gotten to is the competition. Like the Oscars should be a day of like celebration of like the greatest form of media that's ever been made. It encompasses every other form of media. Like it's like this is what like, you know, this is what content is. It's like this is the gold standard of it is movies. So I just hope that day isn't like a battleground, you know, people arguing, people mad at stuff. You know, we can all have our opinions, but at the end of the day, like I hope everybody takes this and, you know, just looks at this day as like a day of celebration for this thing that we all love.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, that's kind of like the social media culture now, is just constant competition and just dragging one thing down to prop another thing up.
Yep.
I mean, it happens all the time across sports, movies, TV shows, video games, everything. We've got you covered.
The only thing that was propped up was those Eagles fans on those polls yesterday.
But, you know, people are always going to find problems with everything. And, you know, if you dig deep enough, you're going to find a problem with everything in the world.
Yeah,
so
everywhere and probably all at once.
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
But
it's the best picture of the year.
It goes back, you know, just goes back to the whole reason why we do this the way that we do it. You know, kind of just celebrating things instead of constantly bagging on them and driving them down and saying, like, this is the worst thing we've ever seen.
Why?
Yeah.
Why?
What do you get out of it?
Yeah.
You know?
Even Morbius.
Because
Morbius is a comedy. If you look at Morbius as a comedy, that movie's amazing.
We had fun with it.
And Matt Smith's there.
Matt Smith was great.
Yeah. Milo.
He should have got the best actor.
He should have been Morbius.
He should have been Morbius. That movie's probably better.
If he's Morbius?
Yeah.
You're making some great points.
Yeah, let's move on. So we got another Lex Luthor. For Superman and Lois season 3, Michael Cudlitz from Walking Dead fame. He played Abraham on The Walking Dead.
What a Walking Dead name Abraham is.
Oh yeah, he looked like an Abraham.
Yep.
But now he's gonna be bald. He's shaving that glorious red head of hair he's got, and he's gonna be the Lex Luthor to Tyler Hoechlin's Superman, which is interesting because
not my Lex Luthor.
Because
bring back John Cryer.
Yeah, once again, I mean, we already knew this about Superman and Lois, how it just fractured itself away, quietly fractured itself away from the Arrowverse. But this is the official of officials.
Yeah. What I'm thinking too now is I wonder if this show's gonna keep surviving. Because I watched the pilot a couple days ago.
It's really good.
It doesn't do anything overly complicated, and I think that might be the formula to how to crack Superman, is not do anything like overly complicated, like keep it simple. In a little bit we'll probably talk about what's going to happen tomorrow, but I just think that this show might be able to endure a little bit longer. I don't think it's going to go for some 8-season run, but I do think this show might. Because everything feels like it's going to get axed in the DC universe. Like, I think that's how... Even the shows, like, I think James Gunn wants one definitive DC universe, and then he has, you know, Joaquin Phoenix's Joker and Robert Pattinson's Batman, and, like, that's it. Like, that's all he's going to do.
Yeah.
But this Superman and Lois show, like, as long as it's not, like, bothering anybody, you know what I mean? Like... Why not? Like, Tyler Hoechlin, like, we've sung the praises, too, and it's funny because I was watching Teen Wolf because the Teen Wolf movie came out, and, like... I was watching the early seasons of Teen Wolf, and like how far he's like just come as an actor, I think is really impressive. Like he
gets it, man. He gets it.
Yes, he just he got it. I remember season 2, episode 1 of Supergirl. Like he just understood. Like he has that Christopher Reeves feel for like a modern age. Like it's something that, you know, I don't think should go understated. That like how much we enjoy him as Superman. So. I do think the show might go on for a little bit, so I think that's pretty cool. They recast one of the Jonathan in that show as well, so the show might have some staying power for a little bit, and I think it's deserved.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's been the most consistent Superman thing that we've had.
It's funny enough, yes, it has been the most consistent Superman thing over the last 10 years.
Yeah,
maybe 20 years.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Yep.
For sure.
Yep.
And I'm excited to see this new take on Lex Luthor.
Yep.
We've gotten plenty in the last handful of years between Titans and obviously John Cryer. We had Jesse Eisenberg on the silver screen. So, you know, I thought out of all of those, I feel like John Cryer felt the most Lex Luthor.
I think was he on Superman and Lois at any point? No? I don't think he was ever in Superman and Lois, right? No. But again, that whole universe is encompassed upon the timelines. But again, I just think it was a good idea for them to say, let's forget about the rest of the Arrowverse and just be a Superman show. That's it. So.
Just do Superman. Keep doing Superman.
Have fun.
Keep doing Superman, and he's a dad also.
He's a dad, and he's a great dad at that. And
he is a great dad.
Yeah, he's doing phenomenal.
He's not on the bad dad list, our infamous bad dad list.
Yeah,
we haven't unveiled yet.
Oh man,
that we've been working on for like 7 years.
Yeah, this isn't a list for this show. This list has been going since I met this guy. So, looking at you, Robert Queen. Reed Richards, horrible dad. Odin, the worst dad. Whatever version of Odin you look at, too. God of War Odin sucks. Anthony Hopkins Odin sucks as a dad.
Oh man, I can't wait. When's Father's Day? We'll do it on Father's Day.
Joe Miller, good dad.
Let his daughter die.
He didn't let his daughter die.
Points against if your child ends up deceased.
Man. You lose like 25 points out of 100 you're allotted if you're what if you have multiple kids? Is it like once per kid, or is it like you're always a dad once the first kid is born?
Yeah. If you lose multiple kids, that's terms for disqualification.
Robert Queen lost his son, and then his son came back. Robert Queen is the worst. He's the worst.
He's the worst. However you cut it.
Well, he's the person that is he inaugurated this list, for lack of a better term. That's the reason why we have this list.
Really did.
When Arrow was at its height,
God.
We were like, Robert Queen is horrible. Joe West, though.
The best. The best dad.
The good dad list.
Oh man, but he's the namesake of the good dad list.
Yeah, he is. He's the Andrew Garfield of the good dad list. We've been talking about dads too much.
Yeah, we got to move on. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge, most notably the writer, one of the writers of the hit show Fleabag, is going to spearhead Amazon's Tomb Raider series, which is cool.
Yes.
However, there's a caveat, because they are also subsequently developing a Tomb Raider film and subsequently developing a new Tomb Raider game, and apparently all of these things are going to share the same universe.
No.
I told you this was going to happen.
No.
I told you that the success of The Last of Us was going to be like, was going to be a beacon for everyone else to be like, let's do this thing.
Yep.
No.
Not how
Look,
it works.
This series, I'm all for that.
Yeah,
I think a Tomb Raider series could be really, really cool.
You give me Phoebe Waller-Bridge, Emmy winner, for those of you that are mad about her being the writer of this, even though she's won multiple Emmys.
Yeah.
Yes. Good. Shared universe. Why? Why is that I mean, there's been a track record.
Not the Lara Croftiverse.
Don't need it. And I mean, what's been the downfall of? I mean, my case study, in my opinion, is I know you go to DC. I go to the MonsterVerse for this pre-planned. That's not how this should work. Make one good movie, and then if that movie's
Dracula Untold.
Maybe we have to talk about that on Halloween.
I had fun with it.
Yeah.
Remember when he made a fist of bats?
Yeah. He's got to fight Michael Morbius.
Ooh, what a fight.
Yeah,
Luke Evans versus Jared Leto?
Yeah. And then, I hope it's like Spider-Man 3, and then, Milo shows up, and he's just like, a couple minutes ago would have been cool, but okay.
Charles Dance was in that movie.
Yes, he was in that movie.
He was Dracula.
You know who else was Dracula?
Blade?
Yep. Technically. I was going to say Gary Oldman, but go off.
Gary Oldman was also... But yeah, this Tomb Raider thing. Like I said, I'm all for the show. I think, if anything, The Last of Us has proved it's that video games inherently are more adaptable for TV than they are for movies. Certain things, because I think the Mario movie looks pretty fun.
Yeah, and I also think something like Ghost of Tsushima plays better as a movie, just because you can hit a lot of beats and you can shorten a lot of the walk in that movie, or in that game, and kind of and the big moments would hit better in a movie. Yeah,
I would agree with that. So we'll see with that. Maybe, hopefully they rethink this shared unit. Give me a new Tomb Raider game too. I like the Tomb Raider games. They're cool. don't know that we need a movie and a TV show at the same time.
And a game that all interconnects with each other.
Yeah, no, don't do that. Rethink that. If you're listening, Tomb Raider, don't do this. Yeah. Don't do this.
Yeah.
We got a new Shazam trailer, and I guess we can segue that with some James Gunn stuff that he's gonna unveil. Because
tomorrow's the day.
Because every time we record this early, something bonkers happens the next day. So, following with that, James Gunn is gonna apparently unveil the future of DC movies and TV shows and everything, everywhere, all at once.
Yes.
So I'm curious to know what that's going to look like from him, because I mean, when this was announced, it was one of those things where we're like, this sounds great. We were supposed to talk to the Shazam trailer first.
Well, I was going to ask, do you want to do this first or the Shazam trailer? Because these two things are more connected than the fates of these things are connected. So
I guess we can talk about the Shazam trailer first. That's fine. Yeah. I mean, it was
Drake.
Yep. We got Drake in this one. We got Eminem in the first one, so we got Drake in this one. So that's cool. It looks fun. It looks pretty much, I'd say, probably on par with the first one. I don't know if it's going to be any better or worse.
Yeah, I mean, you're going bigger spectacle is usually what happens with these sequels to these movies after they're, decently successful. I do think, like, when you talk about the Shazam movie, pitted against all of these other superhero movies, I like it. I like it quite a bit, that first Shazam movie.
Me too.
I think it's a little bit more raw than most of these superhero movies too, and it's like, they get like the humanity of these superheroes as well, and like it's all these things that we wanted out of the DCEU, like Shazam got like the character aspect of what it is too, and Zachary Levi did a good job. So I was looking forward to this. I think I'm a little bit more indifferent now, and I guess it might be my brain tricking me into telling me that this doesn't matter as well. And I mean, we're kind of supposed to be the preachers of going against that very fact, but I can't help it now because I know this movie isn't like, nothing's gonna come of this movie now. Like, this is just, it's like a little too late for something like this. But I hope it's fun. I'm hoping for a good, fun. This movie comes out in March. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Just a fun superhero Shazam family. Maybe they retooled some of it so it can have a little bit more finality. But yeah, why not?
Yep.
The Flash is still gonna come out supposedly.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
No posters. One teaser trailer. Is that movie real or is that a tax write-off?
We'll see. We'll see in a few months, unless it gets delayed again. Imagine.
If they can't delay it again.
Sure they can.
No, they can't.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, no harm, no foul. This movie feels like it's going to be fine, which, as far as DC goes, that's top echelon when your movie's just fine. So I like the first one quite a bit, and Zachary Levi's charming and fun as Shazam, and we're gonna get more of the Shazam family, the Shazamly, and we're not doing Black Adam probably because The Rock was like, no.
The Rock's like, what do you mean that my character in the comics is a B-list villain?
Who? Shazam? Who? So yeah,
greatest trick of all time that he pulled.
He was right though. The hierarchy of power in the DC universe did change.
Yeah, not by him though. By
indirectly, maybe.
Hey, good point. By James Gunn.
By James Gunn. So we'll see what he's gonna unveil tomorrow.
Yeah, so apparently how it's going, they're gonna have like a press thing for like, tomorrow for the members of the press, and then it's gonna be like released on like all the DC social media tomorrow, what the plan's looking like. I'd assume maybe like a video or something of James Gunn, like, and Peter Safran being like, hey, this is gonna be the first thing. I do think, like he said, we're gonna start with the Superman movie. We're gonna get it right. And then it depends. There's three pieces for me, so minus the Superman. So the Superman thing is locked for me. Like, I think they're gonna do the first thing. I'm all for Wolfgang Novogratz to play Superman. Like, that's my dream Superman movie is Wolfgang Novogratz, and then you get Joseph Kosinski to direct that movie. I think that's Superman and Joseph Kosinski like feel like they're on a collision course. Like, I feel like if he is to get into a superhero movie, like, that's the one that he should do. I wonder what this. It's the Batman is the one. Batman's the one is part one to like my question. Like, what are we doing with Batman? Is he gonna? Because I think he did say like Batman's important to this, and I'm glad he's important. So, who the actor's going to be. I'm on the Jacob Elordi train. I think he's got like that 30-year-old Batman angst that you need, like what Robert Pattinson's doing like now. I just think Jacob Elordi's going to add some more to the Playboy aspect of that. So like somewhere in between where Robert Pattinson is and like where Christian Bale was in his prime, like I think he's going to be in the middle of that. He's also got that look. He's got that like rich kid feel and look, but like also super broken on the inside. So I wonder if they're going to mess around with that. My part two to my question is the Justice League themselves. Because I feel like they're gonna make it a point to like have this Justice League be the actual Justice League, like not like the DCU's Justice League. Like I think they're gonna make it a point, and even the Avengers. Because if you think about the Avengers, they didn't have like that team aspect for a little bit. Like they just felt like they were a circumstantial team at times. Like I think this Justice League is gonna be like they're gonna be practitioned at all points and all times once they kind of ease into things and do the first one. My part three is the outside the seven, if that makes sense. So no, not Superman, not Batman, not Wonder Woman, not the Flash, not Green Lantern, not Shazam or Martian Manhunter, the Interchange, and not Aquaman. Like outside of those, what are the characters that are like we're making priority? So I think Green Arrow is going to be priority. I think I kind of have a feeling that they might do a Green Arrow, Black Canary type of thing, and like make sure they're like members of the Justice League. Any other characters I can think of? I mean, Jason Momoa is playing Lobo, right?
Yeah, it feels that way.
Yeah. You think they're gonna do another? You think he's gonna do another Suicide Squad, but just like make it in this universe?
Oh, that's interesting.
I just hope he waits because like if this truthfully is gonna be like an Iron Man situation, like you start from that's what one thing the DC. I mean, I can't even say that because like Batman was already 45 when the DC we saw him first. Like that universe was already lived in, but somehow wasn't because we didn't know about anything, and magically all these people were around. But I wonder if they're gonna wait for a little bit on something.
I would.
Like that. Yeah,
I would honestly. I would wait on a lot of things. I mean, I've talked about this before. Like the genius of what Marvel did at the beginning was they let people kind of piece it together themselves. With like this whole like phase rollout is relatively new for Marvel. So I mean, they gave us Iron Man first, and then the end of Iron Man, like obviously the post-credit scene, boom,
ruined movie theaters forever.
Yep, ruined movies forever. With the Nick Fury cameo saying, "I'm putting together the Avengers Initiative," which let you know, like, oh shoot, they're gonna do the Avengers, but we didn't know what was following that. Like, we didn't know like Hulk and then Thor and then Captain America. Like we didn't know any of that, and I feel like DC could really benefit from that and just be like, hey, we're doing a Superman thing and we're doing like one or two other things, and that's all you're getting right now. Like we're gonna figure it out because we need these first few things to be like top quality.
I figured it out. The other thing he's gonna do, I think he's going to have the new gods be like his Guardians of the Galaxy. So that thing that not a lot of people know about, but have some really great characters in there, like your Mr. Miracles, your Orions, your Big Bardas, like people like that. I think he's going to do the same thing. So like he's going to kind of follow Jack Kirby's Fourth World and then, do some different runs that happened around Crisis, all that good stuff.
And I'd let Ava DuVernay do it. She was supposed to do
Bring her in and be like, hey, you're gonna retool it a little bit, but now you can start. You don't have anything you need to go off of. You can, and finally, then when I'm a big and famous director in a couple of years, then I can get the Mr. Miracle movie. That's actually been I've actually been in contact with James Gunn to get this movie off the ground.
Breaking news.
I have the perfect move. You do Tom King's 2017 run, and you have Dylan O'Brien play Mr. Miracle. You want $1 billion, James Gunn? You give me a call. I got you.
Boom. Done. Boom. You're looking for this?
Come on.
Damn it.
We've been doing this for too long.
Yeah, I think that's smart. I think if you like just get the big things right, and then you can, like Marvel, just get the big things right, and then you can start experimenting and doing these other things, because it's gonna the rising tides rise all ships. Like if your big things are good, people are going to be more interested in your small things. So like I said, that's what Marvel did right, and hopefully James Gunn has learned enough tricks from Kevin Feige that he kind of knows how to how to put this together.
I think Kevin, it's like, you get a promotion on a job and like your old boss is kind of, he's not resentful, he's trying to help you, get that higher position and get a position similar to him. So now you guys are like peers. I think that Kevin Feige did that with James Gunn. It's not a hate sort of thing. He's like, hey, I want to help you.
Yeah.
You got me this successful. I want to help you reach that same thing too. So I think he's got all the tools. He's got all the tricks. And couple characters you need to nail are like, I think you need to nail Green Lantern, because people still have that sour taste in the mouth. So like, and then the Arrowverse wouldn't give it to us. So I think that's a character. I mean, you give Glenn Powell that call and you make him Green Lantern. He's 33. People would love that. That's perfect. I think Darkseid's another person you need to nail, but don't worry about it yet. Like, get that down the line. Don't worry about that yet. And then the big thing that you need to nail is the dynamic between Batman versus Superman. It should feel akin to what what Iron Man and Captain America feel like. They're friends. They hate each other for a little bit. They're friends again. They're best friends. They're brothers. They're enemies. Like go through all those trials and tribulations. But I'm optimistic about that. I know you keep trying to warn me, but I have a good feeling about this. I think James Gunn's onto something, and once it's all said and done, I think people are going to be happy with a shared cool universe and getting to hit all what makes DC great, all their character driven stories. That's truthfully, in my opinion, what sets DC apart.
Yeah, I hope so. We'll see what happens. And then the last bit of news before we jump into The Last of Us. Speaking of the MCU, we got a casting, and I joked about this last week about how everyone who gets cast in the MCU these days is tasked for a secret role or a mystery role or an unknown role, and that is now the the express pleasure of Io Edebiri, who has been cast in the Thunderbolts movie in an unknown role.
She is teaming.
She's Diamondback.
No.
We're all Diamondback when you think about it.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
She can play.
I don't know. Thunderbolt Ross.
Nope. Do you want me to do my 3-tiered of like base, kind of out there and absolutely insane?
Yeah.
My base one would be like just a relative of somebody, or like she might maybe not like a huge. I just think they got her based off name, and like she just so happened to be so popular because of the bear, and then like they cast her, but now they're like, ooh, now we can announce that we cast her because people are gonna listen now.
Yeah.
My mid, like the mid-level craziness would maybe be, because it's the Thunderbolts. If they don't make her, I don't even know how you incorporate to make her Storm or do anything like that. I don't think
that would be insane.
Yeah, I don't think you can do it. But but just like Aurora Monroe at this point, just some princess from Africa, something like that. You want to know my absolutely outlandish one?
Super Skrull?
Nope. That she's a variant gender bent version of Nathaniel Richards.
That was great. You were right.
Nuts.
You didn't disappoint.
That was nuts. That would be insane if that was the case.
That beat me saying Super Skrull.
Yeah.
Super Skrull would be crazy because it's not even a Fantastic Four yet.
Right. It'd be hilarious. There are Skrulls though. Ben Mendelsohn's there.
He's the Super Skrull.
He is the Super Skrull. Yeah, that's my out there theory, is that she's playing a gender bent version of Nathaniel Richards.
She's probably just gonna be like
a person.
Yeah, like Lake Bell and Black Panther.
Exactly. Yeah, just
everyone was like, "Ooh, Lake Bell's a Black Panther," and then she was in it for like.
And then she got killed by Namor.
Then she got her helicopter exploded.
Because Namor's like that.
That movie's great.
Yeah,
I think at the end of the day, it's like name recognition, and people are like, "Ooh," and then she'll just end up being like.
Scientist A.
A scientist, or she'll be like a high-ranking official under Thunderbolt Ross.
Or
like
a teacher.
Yeah. She'll be the first person like on screen to be like General Ross, and then Harrison Ford will turn around.
Yeah. I'm kidding.
Or she's...
I don't know.
The High Evolutionary?
Nope.
Dang it.
The High Evolutionary's daughter. No, stop.
The second evolutionary.
The second evolution. I don't know.
The child evolutionary.
The elementary evolutionary.
Ooh.
That's tough. Marvel, call me. I can give you guys a one-shot off the cuff.
All right. We gotta talk about The Last of Us now.
Do. Yes, or do we?
We don't have to. We can just sit here for the next half hour
and
just
go back
silence.
To the emotional damage that we received yesterday.
Wow, man.
Wow is correct.
Episode 3 of The Last of Us. Boy, oh boy. was it something incredibly special. And I don't think anyone, well, I won't say anyone, I don't think many people could disagree. So episode 3, season 1, long time is the title. This was the episode that we were going to be introduced to Nick Offerman as Bill, which a lot of people who play the games, us included, were very excited for. I know when the cast kind of rolled out, this was my favorite casting of everything that was announced.
Mine was Gabriel Luna. Yours was Nick Offerman.
Yeah, because it just felt right. It's, if anyone has ever, obviously everyone's seen Offerman before
in something, yeah, and he's great every time you see him.
Yeah, he's one of the most popular sitcom characters ever with Ron Swanson. So when this was an end, I mean, like, you've sung the praises of his dramatic work, and I thought the character of Bill was a great balance between kind of like the comedic, outlandish kind of Ron Swanson-y vibe, and then the dramatic bit, because Bill, there's a lot of drama underneath the outlandishness, and this show decided to just lean all the way into the drama of Bill. So I mean, the episode starts. We don't get a cold open this week.
Nope.
We went right to the title sequence, so no spooky opening sequence to scare
those
us.
Scenes of those cold opens have been getting to me, man.
I know, me
They
too.
have been getting to me big time.
Yeah, so we don't get one of those. We left right into our title sequence, and then we pick up with Joel and Ellie right pretty much after the aftermath of what happened to Tess at the end of last episode. And again, like, their dynamic is slowly but surely kind of moving along. They're still really quippy with each other, and Ellie's trying to kind of like extract things out of Joel, and he still can't be bothered to talk about anything. But
still stand up, man. He can't feel anymore,
especially in the wake of Tess, just dying. And now he's kind of just saddled with Ellie, like, and he doesn't really know. Well, he knows where he's going, but he doesn't know. What really he's doing.
And so we're gonna launch further into it when we get into the meat and potatoes, or the duck and wine of this episode. But what Joel's on is, it's funny that we always pick out in the complexities of these stories that we love the simplicities of some of the things, and like, I mean, Top Gun Maverick is our case study for always going back to that, as using that. But for this, he's on his hero's journey, so he got the what of his hero's journey. So it's half, and then once we get to the end of the episode, I'll talk about the what or the why. That's he needed the what, and he got the what, but he needed the person, like he needed the who and the why. So, I want to save that for a little bit until we get to the end, because it is poetic, and these people are some people are upset about if this was warranted, like. What was warranted about Bill being in the game, other than just a funny guy to give him a car battery?
He was a little outlandish, and he was a little, I always said these kind of side characters that you meet throughout the game are kind of these reflections of the person Joel maybe used to be, or the person that he could be. And Bill is definitely one of those in the game. Like, he's a reflection of the person Joel could be, without anybody, because that's what Bill's story is. He has this whole town to himself, and we get that in this show. But we do a little more talking. Ellie is asking Joel about the infection and the outbreak and how it happened, and Joel, you and several others kind of nailed the head on the head of the flower, and he explains, like, nobody really knows, but we think it was this. I love
somehow the wheat returned.
I love the hesitation when he says pancake mix. Just a great little character moment there, where it's a callback to episode 1.
Great storytelling. Great writing usually lies in subtlety. So
yeah, incredibly great moment. They come across a crashed airplane, great looking crashed airplane.
The way they explain the lore of the universe is they operate on the principle of show don't tell. I absolutely love that.
Yeah,
and these cold opens have led to that cause, and something like that. Just these images also.
And I mean, the crash plane also invokes imagery of episode 1. Also, like when it's funny, like, hearing Ellie being like, so these things, like, they just fell out of the sky, and both us as viewers and Joel are like, yeah,
they did.
we seen it.
Mm-hmm.
We saw it happen. And Joel, you just see how cold he is to the world, because she's like, oh, flying planes must have sounded like awesome. And Joel's like, yeah, I'm sure they thought that too. Like, alluding to the to the passengers on this crashed plane, which is just woof. You know what I mean? Do we go to the mass grave before the gas station? Yeah, right?
Yeah. So this happens all before. Yeah.
So they're walking, and then Joel goes, "We should cut through the woods here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we don't want to be on the road." And Ellie's like, "Why could what's
no,
on the
I think
road?"
It's the other way around. I think it is the other way around, because I
I can't
don't think
remember
they
now.
cut any of the Bill and Frank stuff. I think that rolls all the way
it does.
through the episode. So yes.
Yeah. So they're walking. Yeah. So we go to this. Do we go to the gas station first?
Yes, I think we do all the Joel and Ellie stuff.
Yeah.
And then it's all
I just
Bill
can't
and Frank,
remember.
and then-
I just can't remember if it was gas station then mass grave, or mass grave then gas station.
It was gas station, because the mass grave led right into the Bill and Frank. Into the Bill and Frank.
Right into the village. Yeah, that's right. So they go to this gas station. Joel needs supplies. Somehow forgot where he put them.
Well, I mean, you know what I like about that? He's like, I haven't been here in years. Like, I don't really remember the exact spot of what I put. This
He
thing
should have
into.
known where they
Man.
were.
Give
They were in a secret
Give
spot
him a
under the
break,
floor.
Man. It's the apocalypse. Give him a break.
It's the most obvious place.
Yeah. Bella Ramsey's still great. She's
Tremendous.
She's truthfully coming into her own as not only Ellie, but an actress as herself. If she wasn't already, which I think she was.
She immediately breaks horror rule number 1.
Yep.
Don't investigate the big spooky cave under the floor. She immediately violates that rule. She goes down, and kind of a neat character moment for her. She stumbles across this infected that's been crushed under some rubble, very much alive, just crushed. And she studies it. She examines it. She cuts it open a little bit with her knife, and then kills it.
Yep.
Like, just kind of mercilessly.
You can tell Joel's starting to rub off on her a little bit.
She liked it.
Yeah,
she
did.
wanted to, and she liked it.
She's on her Oliver Queen arc now.
She doesn't tell Joel. She just comes back up, and she's like, "This place sucks." Joel finds his supplies. We move on. He goes, "All right, from here, let's cut through the woods. We don't want to be on the road." And she's like, "Why? What's so terrible on the road?" He's like, "Trust me, you don't want to go over there."
And again, she's just like, I know I'm 14. I've seen some stuff.
She's like, "Anything that can kill me?" He's like, "Nah." She's like, "Well, then."
Should have said it was an axe murder up there. I wouldn't know one up there.
Right. So she goes up there. Woof.
Yeah.
In case you need a reminder of how dark and dreary and grim the show is, here's just a mass grave of innocent people that were murdered.
Because the government said so.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, outside of the court.
So it's the prologue, just put deeper into the episode. So it's the same concept.
Like what happened to Sarah.
Yep. They jump back, and the government, and we find out the government's like, you put down all. If we don't know if they're infected or not, you put down all these people. Like, we can't have any of these people coming into.
Also,
the
yeah, no space. There's no space.
There's no supplies, no space. Like,
because Ellie asks, like, were all these people sick? And Joel goes, probably not.
Yep.
Like, that's the grim reality of this. That Ellie is starting to kind of get exposed to, like, outside of her little bubble in the quarantine zone, and like that protected shell that Marlene had her under for all those years. It's kind of all coming to the forefront, and then we just transition.
Well, they go there's like a children's blanking flowing through, and then we cut to the woman in 2003 holding her child in that blanket. I'm like, Craig, what's your problem? Like, what's wrong with you?
What's the issue, Craig?
He's so pleasant in every interview, but he's just a sadistic madman on the inside.
Yeah, man. So we cut back to 2003, Outbreak City. Well, this is more of a town, like a little cute little suburban town.
Yep.
The government's telling people, get out, evacuate.
Come with us,
citizens.
Yeah. Yep.
Then we cut to a dark room with a man watching this all unfold, and not today, new world order jackboot F words. This is Bill. If you've ever known your doomsday survivalist person, this is your guy. Complete with the trap door underneath the dresser. Yep. He survives the excursion.
Yep.
Smart move by Bill.
Oh yeah, stay down there, let them leave, and now I got a town all to myself.
A whole town to myself. He loots the Home Depot.
And it's so smart that they didn't have like stragglers coming back. Why would they?
Why would they?
Yeah, it's perfect. Like
They swept all the houses.
Yep, other universes would have had, somebody would have came back, and I mean, they do have that later, but that's a little different in my opinion. Like, right then and there, like in September 2003, like nobody's coming back. Like the world just ended. Like I got to get to a safe spot.
Yeah, Joel says it to Ellie, earlier in the episode, like Friday was the outbreak. By Monday, the world was over.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, Bill.
That's me on Black Friday.
Bill survives this exodus, and he has this whole little town to himself. He immediately starts kitting it up. Gets it well protected and fortified, and that's where he stays for the remainder of his days. He watches some infected get blown up on the TV. Mm-hmm. He loves that.
Yeah.
He's cooking himself some nice meals.
Yep.
He's not starving. Mm-hmm. He's not in any sort of post-apocalyptic poverty.
Yeah. Livin.
He's got it figured out.
Yep.
He solved it. Mm-hmm. Of all the people, for this outbreak was the end of their lives. Bill cracked it. Mm-hmm. He solved the apocalypse in all the best ways possible. Yeah. And then,
but he was, as humans, you're always longing for something. And even if you don't want to say it, and Bill's one of those people that never wanted to say it, you're always longing for something. And you don't know it until it comes to you. Until
it falls in your trap hole.
Yep. And boy, did Murray Bartlett's Frank fall right in that trap.
Yeah, so Bill, his little alarm goes off. Someone stumbled into one of his traps. It's a person. Mm-hmm. He says like, I'm not infected. I'm not hurt. Bill immediately shotgun out. Mm-hmm. He sees this man there, and the guy's like, I'm trying to get to the Boston quarantine zone. Mm-hmm. I left the Baltimore one. It sucks.
Right. Yeah, he said I had a little group and we left.
Little bit of world building where you kind of are getting this feeling that not all the quarantine zones were like the Boston one. Mm-hmm. Maybe some nefarious things happening in these other quarantine zones. Bill immediately distrustful, checks him, scans him, somehow has a infection scanner.
But this is when I want to talk about specifics and not show specifics but character specifics. Frank is just immediately positive,
manic pixie dream boy apocalypse version,
like something that you just wouldn't. That it's the same.
This person shouldn't exist in the apocalypse.
Points that we made when we talked about the game. Like the game hits versions of Joel that are. Bill is the first variant of Joel that we've seen in this universe. Like he got the second chance of the thing you're not supposed to get. So Frank comes in here, and Frank's like not horrible. Like Frank's like. He's like normal, and like he's just like you wouldn't think the apocalypse happened to Frank. Like he feels like a glass half full guy. Like he just is genuinely pleasant. And I mean, it's that idea of like yin and yang in a relationship.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, one of us has got to be the good to the other person's like sadistic. Everything could go wrong, and
right.
I think that's why they chose Murray Bartlett for this. Of just kind of like that light and energy that he brings.
Yeah, it's really great, and they immediately kind of stand on kind of opposite sides of the issue, and you get the moment from the episode preview where he's like, "Look, Frank, if I give you lunch, then every bum and straggler from 15 miles out is gonna want a free lunch, and this is not an Arby's."
Yeah, and what does he say back to him?
Arby's didn't give free lunch.
Yeah,
Arby's was a restaurant.
Yeah.
So he brings Frank in for a quick meal, cooks him up something nice, and Frank's like, "Holy cannoli! Like you got it made here, man."
That smile that he gives him when he drops the plate is the most genuine smile I've ever seen in a movie or in a television show like ever.
Yeah, like, it's tremendous, and he serves him food, and you can tell Bill is curious about Frank.
Yep.
Throughout this whole sequence, because Frank, again, like you said, is just kind of like water off his back. He doesn't seem to be particularly bothered by the end of the world.
Yep. Yeah.
And then just great little acting moments and direction moments when Bill goes to sit at the table and he bangs his gun off the table because he only is wired one way.
You know what that played for me? It played like the awkwardness of a first date. That's
Kinda.
exactly how that played for me, specifically on Bill's side. Like, it's like the confidence of the one that asked you out versus the person that's actually nervous. That's kind of how that, was drawn out to me, and I think it was wonderfully done. I love how, like, physically tense Nick Offerman plays it, too. Like, you can tell he's, like, it's like, there's a couple layers, like, you kind of feel like he's uncomfortable because somebody's in his house, and, like, he spent all this time and resources making sure nobody ever gets in, and, like, magically the only person that was to get in was the only person he ever needed in the entire world. Got in. So, like, this episode, I think a theme for me, a big one, was fate. Like, this idea of fate, and it's this idea of, sometimes people come into your life and you're not expecting them to, but they're the most important people that you'll ever see in your life. Too.
Yeah,
so
it's the old adage, like, I never knew what I needed until I got it.
I got it. Yeah. So they have a nice dinner, and then the piano.
Frank takes a shower.
Yep.
And Bill again is very kind of like apprehensive. He's like, I brought you some clothes. And Frank's like, can I just...
Oh, thanks. Yeah.
yeah. And he's like, can I just have 5 more minutes?
Yeah.
Like, this is great. Like, I'm showering. This is amazing.
Yep.
And Bill's like, sure. Yeah, whatever you need. And then, so Frank gets changed. And then he's like... It's like that it reminded me of like Top Gun when like Tom Cruise is like lingering outside of Jennifer Connelly's house.
Oh yeah.
And he's like, well, I guess I should be going. And Bill's like, yeah, I guess you should.
And he's like, oh, but this piano is
but this piano though. Bill's like,
so I'd heard this episode was like the best, like apparently some of the best television that's ever been made, and I was like, I wasn't denying it, but then like it kept checking on, and I was like, I was waiting for the thing, and like usually the thing is louder, and then they get to this piano, and it's just it's directing your actors on a million, it's character development on a million, it's subtleties in this on a million. So they get to this piano, and apparently Murray Bartlett has like a phenomenal voice and like is just a great singer, but
he plays
horrible.
it. I love it. I love so much because so many shows do this where like the regular Joe sits down at a piano or grabs a microphone or grabs a guitar and it looks like they stepped off the set of Glee and they're incredible performers. Neither of these gentlemen could be mistaken for professional singers.
However,
I loved it.
Yeah. And then to add to that too is Frank gets up there, bad. It's just like
and Bill's like, stop. You're ruining my favorite song right now.
And then Bill gets up there and does a pretty good rendition of it. And it's just very endearing. And like, again, you pull subtleties from and not showing us and not telling us directly what it's about. So Frank's like, I kind of know. Like now I kind of know about you too. So
you sung that like a man who's had his heart broken, or
the girl.
Either you've had your heart broken or you've never experienced love before. Like that's the kind of performance you're giving here, Bill. And like you said, he asks who's the girl. Bill says there is no girl, and Frank goes, I know.
Yep.
And you're like, oh, this is so good.
Yeah. I'm like, what are they doing to me? That was like the first piece that was just like, I'm about to go on an emotional odyssey right now.
Yeah, and then they hook up.
So they have a very intimate scene, well handled as well. I know Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann talked about like how wonderful the set was for this episode, and like how many ideas were bouncing off of each other, and kind of how they had to go about these things.
And I mean, something that can be understated is obviously the gay representation for one, but also gay representation between two middle-aged men.
That's something that Mazin was talking about. Yeah.
When you see this kind of representation in media, it's typically younger people, teens or young adults, people in their 20s kind of experimenting with love and getting into like first relationships. But with this, you got two mature middle-aged men, one of which who is very comfortable with who he is, and one of which who is not at all comfortable with who he is and hasn't been able to break that shell. And it's also a great reminder of where we were in 2003 when it came to this kind of stuff with like homosexual relationships and we were still in a place that, I mean, technically these two wouldn't be able to get married in 2003.
And that's what makes the ending of this episode just, man.
There's so many layers to this that, like, we're picking this out, but, like, none of this is told to us.
Yeah.
Like, you have to pick up on all this stuff.
Is that not great storytelling?
It's tremendous storytelling. And it also immediately justifies putting the show back in 2003. Because of the implications that we talked about in episode 1, like the 9/11 implications on the outbreak and the panic around that. And then this also, with not gay marriage not being legal at the time nationwide. I mean, this is also another great reason to set the show back in 2003 because of the implications of this very moment.
Right.
It's so unbelievably good.
So 3 years later, the time jumps are well executed in this episode.
I love that this is the episode, and this relationship is the vehicle, because I was curious if they were going to do this, if they were going to kind of show kind of
beat by,
what's going on in those 20 years. And you would think that would take place from Joel's point of view.
Nope.
No, we get it from Bill and Frank.
Right.
And 3 years on, and they're in an argument.
And you know why it works? Because they're in love. If they're in an argument, they gotta like each other. At the
and you
very
think
least
like it's this this big thing, but it's not. It's about decoration. And Frank wants to like liven up the joint, basically. Yeah. And Bill's like, no.
I'm a survivalist. Like, he's like, the world's not the same. Like, the government's not the government are Nazis. Now they are. Not before.
Yeah, you get a little bit of that game, Bill. From Nick Offerman there.
It doesn't portray what Bill is. Bill is still that. Like, he's still a survivalist. He's still like a nut. He's still a schizophrenic nut job that is a Second Amendment advocate. He still has all those elements to him. He just happened to meet Frank and feel this way about Frank. And what does Frank tell him? Frank tells him, "Why don't you let me love our home the way I want to? Just hold on to that. Hold on to it." So yeah, we keep going. So they're in the town. And Frank's just like, you know what? I've been having some conversations with this lovely woman.
He said, "You what?
You what? To let some strangers into my home?"
Well, because Frank's like, we need people. Like, this is a town.
Yeah, yep.
Like, we should have friends.
And Bill goes, "There are no friends because there are no friends to be had.
We can't have friends, Frank, because there are no friends to be had."
Yep. He's like, on the contrary, I know Anna Torv, so
tell that to the woman I've been talking to on the radio.
The woman.
And then cut to a little lovely front yard luncheon with none other than Joel and Tess.
Yeah, I was not expecting that one bit. I wasn't.
So we got one more episode from Anna Torv. Yep. It was great to see her and Joel kind of.
Oh, you know why this makes it even more bittersweet? Her death, because like they've been together for at least 16 years.
And Joel, together. You never know it.
Yep.
Because Joel's just like
cold. So cold.
I love this. I love the scene because Frank and Tess are two peas in a pod, and Bill and Joel are also two peas in a pod.
Like a Mexican standoff at the table. Like, all right, let's put all our cards on the table.
And Joel's like, first of all, get that gun out of my face.
Yeah. Or else. You gotta go play the last part of The Last of Us. Better get that gun out of my face.
Because Frank takes Tess inside. Because the reason they have this lunch on the lawn is because Bill does not want them in the house.
Yes.
But Frank's immediately like, "Come on, Ed, let me show you around. Let's let the boys talk."
And talking they do. And again, they put their cards on the table. And Joel's like, "Look, man, we're a lot more like each other than you want to admit. Like, we're both survivalists."
He's like, "So what are you, some kind of doomsday prepper?" He's like, "Survivalist."
Yes. Right. So he tells him, he's just like, "Hey man, like, let's be real with each other for a second. Like, I'm
from Texas.
You're from Parks and Rec." But really, like, they kind of are serious with each other for a second. Like, "Hey, I have an opportunity you want to keep him safe? Like, hey, I can get you supplies. I don't want to do this, but we can help each other."
And Bill's like, "Absolutely not." He's like, "I've been doing all right so far." Joel's like, "Your fence is kind of lacking.
Fence ain't great, Chief.
Your fence is whack."
Yeah, fence is whack, bro. But I can get you the stuff that you need. I can get you the good stuff.
I can get you aluminum.
I was in Narcos. I can get you the good stuff. Aluminum being a premium is Apocalypse sucks, man.
He's like, look, you infected are not a problem for you. Fedra's not a problem for you, but Raiders will be a problem for you.
Because they're not as dumb as again playing back to the game of what Bill says. Like, I'm not afraid of the infected. Like, they're predictable. I can't predict people.
You of all people should understand that. Yeah, and Bill reluctantly agrees, and they strike up the partnership that we see alluded to in episode 1 with the radio, and like Joel's like, people are gonna come for this, like the setup he got, and Bill's like, let them come. Bill's like, we'll be all right, like we'll be fine. And then we flash forward again
to the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders.
Yeah, the Raiders.
The Oakland Raiders.
Yep. Nope. Derek Carr's not there. Nor will Derek Carr probably be on the Raiders.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, no. Well, we do the strawberries.
Man, oh man.
We do the strawberries before we do the Raiders.
So strike 1 was the piano scene, right? This is strike 2. So, and it doesn't. Again, there's layers to this too, because again, now what it's showing Bill's age. Bill is starting to age, and Frank's a little younger than him, so like he can now run like laps around him, is what he says. So he's just like, now it's like, now there's a clock. Like, now there's a clock on this like precious thing that I had. Like, I wasn't afraid before. I met you. Now I'm genuinely scared. So Frank takes him over. He surprises him with something as simple as strawberries. They're not on the strawberries.
Yeah, they have a nice, beautiful moment in the strawberry patch. Like, clearly this man has gotten through to Bill. Like, officially. Like, like it's...
What did you trade? One of the guns. A little one. It's fine.
Yeah, it's clear.
2003 Bill would have killed Frank for trading one of the guns, but 20 what is that? 2013 Bill would have been all right, man.
Yeah, it's an amazing moment, and then cue the Raiders.
Cue the Raiders.
Frank's awoken in the middle of the night of some men being set on fire.
And Nick Offerman turns into Tommy from the second game, just mowing them down with that sniper.
He's just in the middle of the street.
Yep. He gets shot, and this is big. So he gets shot. Frank now turns into Bill. They kind of switch roles, because now Frank's taking care of Bill. And then Bill's just like, all right,
call Joel.
He's like, in Bill's mind, he's like, I'm dead. So immediately what he goes to is like, and this is the evolution of his character, the self-preservation is gone. It never mattered. He just needed a vessel to put the preservation onto, and it was Frank. So he tells him, like, I have a list. I made all the copies for the keys, and call Joel, because guess what he picked out from Joel? It's usually what people that are cynics like that do. They'll pick out, those traits that people don't want to have identified. Joel's just like me. Joel's a protector. He will protect you. If you make the right sell, he's going to protect you. So call Joel, like, go with them and be with them.
And then Bill kind of goes, and you think it's curtains for Bill.
No, not like this.
Not like this, Bill.
Yep.
So, and then, we fade, and you're like, oh no.
Yeah. 10 years later.
And you hear Frank call Bill, and you're like, what happened to Bill?
Yeah.
Not what happened to Bill. What happened to Frank?
Yeah.
Frank is in a wheelchair.
Yeah, it's like, it's they never tell us what it is. And I also, again, that's good writing to me of not telling us what it is, because it's just like, how would they might know, but there's no doctor to diagnose him.
Frank,
like,
he says as much.
Right. He's like, there's no helping me. Like,
yeah, there was no cure for this thing when the outbreak happened. Before the outbreak, what makes you think anyone can help now?
Yeah, it's like either ALS or MS or something like that.
Cancer.
Right.
Yeah.
We don't know what it is, but we know that he's dying.
It's terminal illness.
Yep.
Top 10 worst thing to get in a post-apocalypse world is a terminal illness, because there's literally nothing you can do aside from some medicine, like occasional, like just pills to kind of prolong things. And that's what Frank's on. He's on some unidentified pills. Bill's making sure he takes them. Frank does not want to be taking them. And yeah, this is really the home stretch. And Frank kind of...
This is strike 3. So when I see Craig Mazin, we're boxing.
He lays it on Bill, and he's like, I'm done. Like, this is my last day. My last day on Earth, and I want it to be the best day ever, and you're going to help me, and you're not going to complain about it, because this is my living will.
And
essentially,
when the day's over, I'm done. I'm gonna die at the end.
You're
of
gonna
this day.
crush up everything that's in this bag, pour it into the glass of our favorite wine. You're gonna let me drink it, and I'm gonna fall asleep in your arms, and that's gonna be it.
Mm-hmm. Woof.
Come on, guys.
What are you doing? and then, these guys had the audacity to play "The Nature of Daylight" as the song that plays over their day, and them living out literally the last day of Frank's life. And at this point, I'm wrecked. The entirety of everybody that's watched the show is emotionally wrecked. So we get to the dinner, and these jerks, the Bazin and Druckmann, said, "All right, we're gonna put the same dinner that he made on the first day they met."
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. They're gonna get married.
Oh God. And again, why they put the show in 2003? Another big thing. They get married at the end, and nobody can tell them no. And it's exactly what you want. They're finally together. Eternally together. So they have the
till
dinner,
death do us part.
Till death do us part. So they're at the dinner table, and he brings out the course. They eat, and it's a little details. Like Frank's plate is barely touched because obviously he has trouble eating now. And they're done. They share some pleasantries.
No guns at the table.
No guns at the table. And Bill goes to the other room. He gets the wine, and then he takes the baggie and he puts it in Frank's drink, and Frank downs it. And then Bill, it's that look that Bill gives him, and Frank, he immediately knows. He's just like, "You put more pills in the bottle itself before you came out here," and he doesn't even say anything. He just shakes his head, and he's just like, "Enough to kill a horse." So that's it. It's the end of Bill and Frank. So
yeah, they're gonna die together because it's. Oh man, it's just it's incredible. It's incredible character development over the span of 80 minutes. Like it's just it shouldn't be possible.
Yeah, it should not be. To feel this way about these two people like
that you just met
quickly, and that's what the strength of this story does.
It shouldn't work
in the game.
It defies all storytelling convention.
Mm-hmm.
That you could take these characters on this kind of a journey in this short a time and have it feel as earned as it does. We talk all the time about moments that don't feel earned, and this moment at the very end of this feels incredibly earned. Like you feel like you were right there with them in those 20 years. Like it's insane. And yeah, they drink together, they do the wedding, and then they go upstairs, and we come back to Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
Outside Bill's town.
Yep. And
the flowers have wilted.
Yep.
So obviously Frank's not around.
Gone, yep.
Frank's not around anymore.
All these things, and it's this point about Bill was there to protect them, but Frank was there to give them purpose and meaning in that town that they had, give life to the actual town that they had to live in. So they arrive, they go in the house. Ellie sits down, she finds a note, and she finds the note, and it's basically Bill's last manifesto to the world and his swan song.
My only, like I said, I told you this last night, my only slightest of slight gripes is I wish this had been Offerman's voice delivering this. That would have been a really neat moment to deliver this from Offerman's perspective, but that's just the slightest of slight criticisms that I could give this amazing episode. And it's Bill's last will and testament to Joel. He's like, Joel, you suck.
Yeah. It tells you, like, straight up, like, I don't like you. I feel like you probably don't like me. Doesn't matter. But I know what you are. You're a protector. That's what you are. Like,
goes back to the lunch where they basically come to terms like, we're kind of the same here. Yep. The same type of person. We're cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. But the thing and that's how you know that their love is eternal, and it's just so potent, the emotional punch that hits you. He says, I used to hate the world, is what Bill writes. Like, I hated the world, and then, until Frank came in the world, like, I hated everything until this person came. And he said, like, the only thing I saved him, like I protected him after that. And then he's just like, that's why men like you. And again, from earlier in this, I said he got the what he needed to do, but Joel didn't get the why yet. Joel finally gets the why. So I think it's the perfect vessel. Not only does he get the car to actually go on the journey, he finally gets like the emotional push to why to go on the journey. Like,
and Ellie's reading this to him, and Bill's note, it's so you can protect Tess, and Ellie doesn't say it. And Joel doesn't want to hear it.
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't want to hear again. That wall there, man.
Mm-hmm.
He couldn't admit that he felt about Tess that Bill was able to admit that he felt about Frank.
Yep.
And to this day, Joel could not admit that about Tess. Is that his biggest regret? We don't know because he wears it so incredibly well.
Yep.
That he just will not talk about it. He lays that out to Ellie a little bit in a couple minutes.
Yep.
And yeah, it's just Bill, he says, we left the window in the bedroom open. Don't come in the bedroom.
Yep.
You can have all my stuff.
Yep.
You can have my car, my truck, gasoline, whatever you need to protect your reason, basically, which is Bill says is Tess.
Yep.
But we as the viewer know is Ellie.
Right. And it's the line he gives him in there, like, you know, I saved him and then I protected him, and like that's what we are, and like woe be the MFer that even dares to step in our way of that. And I mean,
yeah,
just wait.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the end of Bill and Frank's story is they're gone, and Joel and Ellie shower up, they clean up, they get some Ellie's still like, can I have a gun?
They got the outfits from the game.
Yep.
And they got the car from the detailed car from the game.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that did this episode not do exactly what the game did?
Did the exact same thing.
It got them what they got the same thing that they got from Bill from the game that they did in the show.
Yep, the truck.
Right. That's the only thing Bill gave them in the game. Not to diminish Bill, because Bill's still great in the game and both serve their purpose, but like to go about it this way is just so genius.
It's unbelievable.
It's a couple things. It's like it shows you that this is possible in the apocalypse of all places. This is possible for that type of love to shine. And I mean, not only their relationship, but just love in general. Like it's like, what is it, Eden, agape, like the different like kinds of love, like parental love, intimate love, like prolonged, like all those different, like all those parts of love survive through this, and that's what Joel is getting to. Like he's evolving into that.
But before they leave, Joel, 3 ground rules. 1, you don't bring up Tess.
Yep.
Ever. And you and we don't talk about our past to each other. That's dead. We're strangers. You don't know anything about me. I don't know anything about you. Don't talk about Tess ever. Number 2, don't talk about your condition, because people won't believe you and they'll just kill you for it. Like that's a given. And number 3, you do when I say it. And then Ellie's like, yep. And he goes, repeat it. What you say goes. Yep. And for those that don't know, that is ripped straight from the game. That exact dialogue takes place in the game. It takes place before they get to Bill's town, but in this, it's right as they're about to depart. They get in the truck. Ellie finds the tape.
I love it so much when they get in that truck, because she's like, this thing is a spaceship. Like this thing. She's
never been in a car.
This thing is awesome, and he's just like, this is a crappy Chevy, and she's just like, this is the greatest thing I've ever been in.
Put your seatbelt on. He says she doesn't know what a seatbelt is.
He like he reaches over and he pulls the seatbelt down for her, and she's just like, this is awesome. Like this is incredible.
And they drive off, and Ellie finds them.
And then guess what they do when they drive off? They have the shot through the window, just like the game. I hate Craig Mazin so much because he's such a genius. Man.
Yeah, they drive off, and like you said, the camera pans into a bedroom window, which is we would know it's Bill and Frank's room, where they died together, and we move on. Ellie's got she plays the tape of the song. which I think has gotten a 4,900% spike on.
Looking at you, Kate Bush.
Yeah, come for your throne, Kate Bush. Just an incredible end to, like we said, one of the most incredible episodes of television you're ever going to get. It's a case study in character development. It's a case study in making moments feel important, making moments feel earned. Like this is what you ideally would want to create as a creator is something like this. To have it be derivative of your main story, to have it be derivative of your main characters is all that more impressive. That you can introduce these two characters and within the confines of a single 80-minute episode, give them an entire arc and an entire season's worth of character development in 80 minutes. It's
awesome.
It's insane. It, like we said, it shouldn't be possible.
No, it should not be.
Just two absolute incredible performances from Nick Offerman and Murray Bartlett that you're not long to forget.
Yeah. You can believe the hype about this episode, that it's being heralded as this like one of the best episodes of television this year. Like, I mean, to your point earlier, I think this is just simply one of the best episodes of television I've seen, period. The emotional impact in that short amount of time that you feel is just, it's just unmistakable. Like, I couldn't believe, like, it felt like there was somebody like controlling like my body with a voodoo doll, telling me to feel this way, like feel this sad in this short amount. Like, I couldn't believe I was getting that much emotion from that short amount of time too. Some shows need seasons to get there. Some movies need multiple movies to get there. This needed 15 minutes to hit you emotionally too. And again, it all plays back into Joel and Ellie's story as well. Again, they got the thing that they needed, and Joel got the last piece of the thing he needed to, emotionally be ready to take Ellie on this journey.
Yeah, it's Bill, again, like I said about the game, like Bill is this reflection of the type of person Joel could be. And in the show, it serves the same function, but in a different way, because what Joel can extrapolate from Bill in the show is that it's possible.
Yep.
It's possible to have something.
You just need to open up.
Yeah, it's possible to have someone or something that's worth loving and worth letting in, which is a completely different message that he gets from Bill in the game, which, apropos of anything else you want to talk about in this episode, I guess we can talk about some differences here. If you have anything else to say about the episode.
I mean, I think we said everything. It's nothing short of remarkable, incredible. It's everything as a creator, something that you would, like you said, hope to achieve. Craig Mazin and Neil Druckmann, they should be incredibly proud of themselves. Like, this is the quality that they're aspiring to.
Totally agreed. Neil Druckmann, we've talked about before how important it is, how we feel how important it is to have your original creator on board with your adaptations. And Neil Druckmann said it, I think, how his mindset was going into creating this show was in terms of when to deviate from the game. If the scenario pitched is the same or worse, stick with the game.
Mm-hmm.
And in this case, this was Craig Mazin's pitch for Bill and Frank. Druckmann said of it, if the scenario pitched is better, deviate.
Yep.
With no hesitation. I might add. So it's not like Craig Mazin held Neil Druckmann at gunpoint and was like,
that's what I don't think
change
people
this.
Are understanding, like,
now Craig Mazin pitched this and Neil Druckmann fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm.
And he, we can talk about the differences really quick because they are quite stark.
Yeah, I mean, the big piece is that Frank is dead in the game. He's a hanging Hawaiian shirt in the game.
Yeah.
And in this one, he gets to live his life. Bill is not as cold, but why is he not as cold? Because Frank's present for this too.
Yeah, it goes beyond that. It goes, Joel in the game has no idea who Frank is. It's just Bill. And we get this moment. I mean, there's obviously scenario differences, but that just more has to do with like game mechanics. Like, you go through the town, you meet Bill, you go get a thing for the car, and Bill and Ellie have some banter that I know people really missed, but that's what the game's for. Like, the game is not erased by this show. You can still play the game. You can still go on YouTube.
This is an adaptation.
Watch those moments because they are great. They are great. The moments between Bill and Ellie, they're hilarious and they're really great. So I do encourage people to go look those up because they're tremendous. Right. But and we get to there's an encounter with another infected that we have not yet seen in the show, so we won't spoil it because there will be one. Not here. So we'll get there. But they have an encounter with an infected. They flee into a house. They stumble upon this corpse hanging from the ceiling. Bill is visibly shaken by this corpse, and Joel goes, "What, you know this guy or something?" And Bill goes, "Frank. Yeah. He was my partner." Yeah, who the hell's Frank? Because Bill mentions to Joel earlier, he goes, I once had a partner, like someone I had to look after, and those things are only good for one thing: getting you killed. Yep. So there's a stark difference right there between the Bill in the show and the Bill that we get at the end of the episode and the Bill from the game, because he essentially tells Joel, like, you got to ditch that kid at the first freaking intersection and look out for yourself. And we see Frank, and he was bitten, getting the battery that Joel and Bill were seeking. He got bit in the process and killed himself. Yep. And he cuts him down, and Bill says, well, F him, you know? So, and then as the player, you can find a note that Frank left Bill that their relationship was not as lovey-dovey as it was in the show. Frank makes mention that, like, I hated this, this setup. You were always too afraid to come to this part of town. So that implies that they lived separate from each other, even though they were together. Right. Frank says, I hated every moment of this, like, your isolationist attitude, like, never changed. It sucked. But I got your battery, so hopefully you can make some use of it. Right. Basically, screw off. Sincerely yours, Frank. Bill reads this note, and he's like, F you too, Frank. Like, and that's how they leave it. Yep. That's how they leave it. Joel and Ellie take off in the truck, and Joel's like, hey man, about your buddy back there, like, that sucks. And Bill's like, deal. Tough deal, Bill. And Bill just doesn't say anything to him. He just says, get the hell out of my town. And that's it. That's the last we see of Bill. So Bill, for all intents and purposes, survives in the game. Bill's fate is here too unknown, but it's presumed that he just lived out his days in isolation. So, needless to say, I much prefer what we got in this than the Bill that we got in the game, to be quite honest.
It's just so much more endearing, and it's this lesson that even in the worst of times, just a person, that's all you need. The person can give you purpose like this. Again, if Bill is this vessel to get you the MacGuffin that you need in the game for the piece, like, would you not prefer this? Like, is this not a better way to go about it? Like, the lesson learned is the thing that you needed from it too. And the lesson we needed to learn from this as well as people, the message that we needed to get from this as people, I think it's truthfully beautiful the way that it was crafted.
Yeah, and in the darkest times, when you least expect it, when you least think you need it, just open yourself up and take a chance.
Man. Why would they do this to us?
Yeah, it's again just the third episode of just trauma, and sadness, but also
that sliver of hope just keeps pushing through.
That sliver of hope, and also, like, as far as, like, ends, this is the best you can probably do in this world. It reminds me of Game of Thrones when Maester Aemon dies at Castle Black, and you realize how few people in Westeros die of old age. This has a very similar feel. Right. Where we saw Sarah die at just a tragically young age, well before she needed to. We saw Tess die needlessly, at a time when she wasn't ready. So to see these two characters go out on their terms, despite the fact that, Frank fell ill, but still it wasn't like this horrifying execution or getting attacked by infected, or
they grew old together.
They grew old together across 20 years, and they loved each other maybe not every minute of those 20 years, but their love never wavered and never died. And it's just something that's so rare in this universe, and any universe like this, any type of post-apocalyptic setting, like love is so rare. So to be able to get that from this, like I said, in a place where I was least expecting it. And this is my favorite thing about when adaptations or, remakes or whatever the case, when they're not one-to-one following the source material, because this was such a surprise.
Oh yeah, it was.
In the best way. And like I said, I can't, now that I've seen it, I can't imagine the story without it. And that's what's so cool about when you have collaboration with your creators to do stuff like this, to change drastically set pieces from your original story and do something completely different and flesh out more characters. It's just amazing. Like it's really the word I come back to, is just amazing.
That's The Last of Us episode 3.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
It was just absolutely incredible. They did so much with so little. Like we said, it was essentially a bottle episode about these two characters that we had not met up until this point. Like these two pulled the same trick that Nico Parker pulled in episode 1.
And Torv pulled in episode 2. This is like the theme of this show, and like I know what the next one's gonna be, and that's gonna come way of Henry and Sam are gonna be the next two that are gonna do the same. They're gonna do the same thing. They're gonna come in immediate impact. You're gonna get a brotherly relationship, and what I think this show's gonna do is it's gonna play more. I think it's gonna play on the idea of Joel and Tommy, and then Joel's gonna see these two brothers and like how he thinks things should have went with, Tommy should have probably followed him a little bit more.
That's a great read.
Yep,
that's a great read.
I think that's kind of what it's gonna be like. So I just wonder kind of if they're going to keep going with this. We talked about these cold opens. I wonder if that's and the game still does that too. And like this idea that Craig Mazin was talking about of Jeff being trivial, this is what he's talking about. Like there's so much finality in these. Like if you decide to replay the game, are they alive again? They're back. But like here, like they're gone. Like they are gone. They're done for it. Like Tess is gone. Like, Sarah's gone. Bill and Frank are gone. Like, they're all gone. So I think they're gonna keep going with that throughout this whole run. And this show is structured just phenomenally.
And like you said, that it's because not shows like this, but stories like this can become exhausting.
Sure.
When it's like trauma dump, you know what I mean? But alluding to your point earlier, like that little sliver of hope keeps you coming back. You know what I mean? Like every time something feels awful, something else happens that like you're like, okay, like I'll stick around to see where this goes next, because it feels like, it's Joel's gonna break my jaw for this, but when you're lost in the darkness, look for the light. Like the Firefly mantra is kind of the mantra for this story in this universe. Like when things seem, we haven't gotten to endure and survive yet.
Yeah.
But I imagine we will.
Yeah. What endures out of all of this? That love endures out of all of this.
It's another mantra that Ellie adopts in the game Endure and Survive. She gets it from her favorite comic book.
Yep. I thought she was going to get a Savage Starlight comic from
we got a Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, we did.
Machine in this. Yep. They replaced the whatever junk kind of was it Angel Knives?
I think something like that.
Or something like that. And I was like, oh, whoop.
Yep.
I popped for the Mortal Kombat 2 arcade machine. She started talking about Melina. I was like,
yeah.
I was like, hell yeah. But yeah, I'm imagining probably next episode or the episode after is when we'll get Endure and Survive, because it is kind of an important mantra for Ellie.
Right, because episode 4 essentially is going to be Pittsburgh.
Which I think they're rerouting to Kansas City.
Yeah, I think so.
For the show?
Because I think it's the route they need to... I don't think they want Boston and Pittsburgh to be so close, because this is only a 9-episode season, so I think they need to put some more distance, because we're already at episode 4 right now of 9.
Yeah, and they have to get to Wyoming.
Yeah, and we also need to retroactively put the Ellie and Riley episode in here too, which we didn't need to worry about in the main game too.
Yeah.
So so we're gonna go to Kansas City, and we're gonna help that guy. He ain't even hurt.
Yeah, we're gonna see kind of what Frank alludes to when he talks about getting out of the Baltimore QZ. Like, not all these QZs were as secure as Boston, and you're gonna see that in the form of the Kansas City QZ, which is, you talk about the infected being villainous.
No.
You haven't seen anything until you see what. It's such a great juxtaposition because you see Frank in this episode, and he's kind of like the best of us and the best of like the people in this post-apocalyptic world, and to flip right around in episode 4, and you're gonna truly see some of the worst of us.
Yeah. But guess what? You won't see The Last of Us. 3 weeks in a row.
He did it again. God damn it.
Stop me.
Yeah. What's our? Do we have time for another Last of Us episode between now and Ant-Man? We got. Next week we might not be able to do one because Ant-Man's the 16th, right?
That's correct.
We might have to go back to our regularly scheduled programming next week.
It was a great run, The Last of Us. And I think for people for your complainers that are like, oh, nothing happened this episode, we didn't need this whole thing, you're getting back to the things you want next episode. And I think, again, next episode is going to be that's going to be a bigger action set piece for the whole episode. That much like Pittsburgh was in the game, Pittsburgh was a bigger action set piece. But
also presuming that they keep kind of a key moment, which is sort of alluded to. Like, I think there was a literal Chekhov's gun in play here.
Right. Well, Ellie has
she grabs Frank's gun.
Yep.
So if they're gonna keep an important moment from the game in next week's episode, it's gonna have more harumph than just a big action set piece. Yep. Just leaving that there. Yeah. Just some speculation.
Yeah. And I do think that we're gonna see Henry and Sam at the very end of 4.
Yeah.
And then getting into.
So while we may not might not dedicate an entire episode, obviously to the show next week, because we're ramping up for Ant-Man.
We're back.
We're ramping up for Ant-Man Quantumania. So next week we'll probably.
What a name for a movie!
Great. So we're going to talk about I guess we're going to talk about Phase 4, kind of just overall.
An episode I've really wanted to get after was talking about Marvel Phase 4, and
but up top we probably will talk a bit about The Last of Us.
I think this is a week in, week out thing. This show needs to be talked about.
Yeah. So
truthfully, it's one of the, off of 3 episodes, this is one of the better TV shows I've ever seen.
I said lock it up.
Yep.
Lock the Emmys up. Lock them up.
I don't know how the Emmys treats single episode performances, but we'll see.
I think there is a best. I think someone put me on to. I think there is a best supporting actor in a guest role.
Oh, okay.
So I believe that. Man, they're gonna be Bill and Frank are gonna be duking it out.
Yep.
I guess you would probably go with Offerman if you had to pick one.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Because even though it's a shared episode, it really is Bill's point of view. Mm-hmm. He is the POV character, so I guess if you had to pick one to give the award to, you would give it to Offerman. But yeah, lock it up. Give the show as many awards as you can give it, because it deserves it. Yeah. Speaking of awards. What have you been doing?
Watching award movies?
Yes.
I've been watching a couple movies. I actually...
Blades of Glory.
Nope. Without even realizing it, I've been watching some director debuts. So the latest director debut that I watched was Bottle Rocket by Wes Anderson, one of my personal favorite directors too, and I was pleasantly surprised as that quickly became one of my favorite Wes Anderson movies right off the bat. That movie's super endearing. Brian and Owen Wilson are incredible together too. And it's this idea, like, from, an outside perspective of like, hey man, maybe you and your friends can pick up a camera and then turn yourselves into movie stars and one of the biggest directors on the planet. Like, so I just think that's the inception of that whole thing. I love that picture that they have of them running out of one of the big studio lots with like the letter that says like, hey, your movie's going to get made. And like, they're just jumping for joy down the steps. So, just as somebody that wants to do that as well, I just think the idea of that movie and like how that movie came into fruition is really great. But yeah, that movie just quickly shot up my ranking
Nice.
And then I had to just go and watch the Teen Wolf movie because I couldn't help myself.
Speaking of cinema,
Boy. Oh, boy.
all your favorites are back.
Except for everybody's favorite. They forgot to bring Dylan O'Brien back.
I don't think they forgot.
I think Dylan O'Brien knew something before everybody else did. Just, oh man, disappointed.
Were you?
Oh, super disappointed. It's super unfortunate. This feels like a YouTube movie, and I think that's still giving YouTube some love.
Yikes!
It's just
Scathing.
I just don't, and I just don't understand. I kind of do understand. They're also doing another. They have another show that's running by Jeff Davis, the creator of the Teen Wolf show. And I just feel as they put all the budget on that.
They mailed it in?
Mailed big time mailed it in.
Wow.
Even the emotional moments don't hit.
Wow.
Nothing hits. The only good thing about this is Tyler Hoechlin continuing to be a father. That's the only good thing about this. He continues to be a father, and he's great. And I mean, I can't spoil the thing, but
yeah.
Like, there's another Teen Wolf. I think that's the thing. Yeah.
Wow.
Right.
This guy just came firing.
Yeah. It's just, I just had to do it to myself. I was like, because look, Teen Wolf's cheesy. It's bad. It's crazy cheesy. But like, I think what it got in like the middle seasons too was just like it was like this pseudo like comedy teen drama, and like it had some solid moments, like this horror teen comedy drama amalgamation, and like in that there were some pretty solid moments in there. This movie doesn't feel real. Like it feels like somebody like cut together like a fan made trailer on YouTube to like just try to trick people into thinking the actual trailer is out.
Wow.
They got Scott back on the lacrosse field as like a 35-year-old, and nobody said anything.
Wow.
Whoa.
I gotta be honest, I didn't expect that from you. That's about as critical as you've ever been.
I think it is as critical
as on anything we've done.
Yeah.
Over almost 80 episodes.
Yeah, it's just
80 plus episodes.
It's phoned in.
Wow.
It's just. But at the end of the day, I guarantee the cast probably had fun. They saw all those people that they had their bulk of their careers with. Like, it's whatever. It's the Teen Wolf movie. Go watch it. Turn your brain off. That's fine.
You really saved it at the end there.
Yeah, this is a turn your brain off.
Go watch it. It's fine.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Or don't. At least Tyler Hoechlin was there.
Fair.
Good on you, Tyler Hoechlin.
Wow.
Dylan O'Brien's like, I'm on a trek to win an Oscar at some point in my life. I can't do this.
This man dodged a bullet. Jesus.
Bring Michael J. Fox back.
What have I been doing? Not really much, to be honest. I was gonna basically just spend my segment on the fact that, so we're recording this on the 30th. Tomorrow is January 31st, marking the 26th anniversary of Final Fantasy VII. One of my favorite games of all. Well, my favorite game of all time. Yeah. Not one of. It is my definitive favorite game of all time.
Are you looking at 12 Cloud Strife pieces of memorabilia?
Yeah. 26 years. I did not encounter this game 26 years ago. I was 6 years old, so I probably picked it up a few years later, probably like 11 or 12. Still too young to absorb anything going on in that story, which led me to playing it several times over the next 20 years. And then, just we talk about this episode being an incredibly special story. To me, this game is an incredibly special story. You like Reluctant Heroes? Like The Last of Us? That's what Cloud is, a reluctant hero of Final Fantasy VII, a story rife with mental trauma, mental, emotional, physical trauma inflicted upon its main character, and how that can affect a person. Even the strongest of us can be inflicted by mental anguish. 26 years. It's probably going to lead me down a rabbit hole of playing the original again, watching Advent Children again, playing the remake again, as we ramp up for the release of Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. They say winter, which probably means it'll be out like next March, next February, somewhere around there. It's not going to be like later this year. Yeah. But yeah, just one of those things, an incredible longevity to this game that you don't see a ton of in terms of like RPGs. Don't typically have this kind of longevity. You have your Marios and your Zeldas and Sonics and those things endure, but to have one installment of a mainline franchise that has spanned what will be 16 games come this summer, and this is the one that everyone always circles back to. It's the
they
one.
also have Tyler Hoechlin.
They also have Tyler Hoechlin and Steve and Cody Christian.
Yeah.
They do now. For this to be the one that everyone circles back to, like Final Fantasy VII, the characters are recognizable.
Yeah, I played that game. I haven't scratched as nearly enough of the surface. I'm like, I will. I promise. I will. But from what I've scratched from that game, it has the bones of, greatness just littered on it. It's just from the, the game mechanics itself. But, we talk about this a bunch, like with games, like that's just the vessel of which we're being delivered the story. And like, we just have a little bit more control. And the important thing is the actual story of what we're getting.
The story, the characters, the music.
The music. Oh,
the score is iconic and was only amplified by the remake. Like they knew what they had with the music, and they were like, how do we make the music not better, but like how do we make it more of the experience? Mm-hmm. And that's what the remake does so well. The remake does a bunch of things well that I'm not going to dive into here because it is very in the vein of this Last of Us show, where they deviate from the original plot, in my opinion, in the best of ways. And like I said, I wouldn't be talking about it still some 3 years after it came out. Almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in March. I wouldn't be talking about it still almost 3 years later if it had just been the same thing again, but just with better graphics and voice acting. But it was just the same thing.
Right.
It would have been cool. I would have been happy and satisfied, but I wouldn't be still talking about it. But the fact that the conversation is still swirling, I mean, these characters have crossed over to Super Smash Brothers. They've crossed over to a bunch of different things. They're main as mainstream as video game characters can get. So happy 26th anniversary to my favorite game of all time. And that's gonna do it for us this week. You can find us on Twitter at ProjectINF_pod. You can follow us on Facebook. You can follow us on Instagram
at the Project Infinite Pod.
Thank you very much. New episodes are posted every Wednesday.
We've been better.
A lot better. Except for last week where I accidentally posted the wrong audio.
Rookie.
Get this guy some help.
Get this guy. We need an intern.
I don't know how that happened.
2023 is going to give us an intern.
I'm so good with it. Like, it's not hard. It's just pick the audio file and put it in. I don't know what happened. That was crazy. I was like, wait. I was like, were our episodes really the same length? Down to the second? That doesn't seem right. And then I played it and I was like, uh-oh. So technically, we got twice as many downloads on our first episode that we did.
Let's go.
The second one.
That was actually a genius play by you. Genius.
Playing three-dimensional chess over here.
Yeah.
But yeah. Oh man. That's it. Next week we're gonna talk about Phase 4 of the MCU, a little bit of a The Last of Us discussion, of
Probably
course.
Some DC universe.
Yeah, we'll have all the DC news because James Gunn decided. Well, we decided to record early, and we should know better by now.
You gotta do better, Senator. We were so close in Falcon and the Winter Soldier. We were so close. And you just had to go do that. But something that we're going to talk about next week.
We will.
We'll talk about Phase 4.
Yeah, we will. We haven't properly talked about.
Oh, I got some binging to do this week.
Yeah, me too.
I'm gonna binge the heck out of 51 hours of content.
I'm not watching everything again. I'll watch some things.
What are you gonna skip? You can't skip She-Hulk.
I can probably skip She-Hulk because I had just seen it. I can probably skip She-Hulk. I can skip Miss Marvel.
Wow.
I like it, but it's more the stuff that's not as recent to me that I'm gonna revisit. Like WandaVision definitely.
Watch Loki.
Loki definitely. I'll rewatch Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Like all that early stuff, I want to get back to.
Yep.
I'm gonna rewatch Black Widow again.
I'm gonna rewatch all the movies. That's a non-negotiable. I can watch all those movies in a week.
Black Panther comes out this week.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's perfect.
Disney Plus. So
Phase 4 will all be on Disney Plus.
Can't wait to revisit Thor: Love and Thunder.
You can't wait to revisit Thor: Love and Thunder.
Legitimately can't wait to revisit Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Dream walking, you hypocrite.
It's doing.
Movies.
Is it weird that it's doing the same thing that Doctor Strange 1 did? Where like it keeps getting better every rewatch?
They cut out the Illuminati stuff in that movie, and
it's a great movie.
And they do more multiverse travel stuff. Like
it would be great.
Oh my gosh, remember when he actually turned into like an actual like demon, and like he had turn into
that movie wouldn't just be, if it cut out that Illuminati stuff, it wouldn't just be like camp fun. It would be probably legitimately great.
Oh, that movie's fun. That movie's fun because Sam Raimi's a madman.
Dream walking, you hypocrite.
That's literally the perfect character for Sam Raimi to have. Is Doctor Strange.
Yeah, it was incredible. And Elizabeth Olsen just acted the absolute hell out of that movie.
I'm definitely looking forward to rewatching the Eternals. I'm not moving from my stance on the Eternals. It's the single most underrated movie in the MCU. You guys are just looking at you're looking in the wrong places. You're looking for the wrong stuff. Yep.
Says the guy who didn't like the Teen Wolf movie. Your taste is all sorts of off.
Well, dude. All right. So.
Yes.
They're like in this. They're in like this dream state, right?
Got him.
And then magically, Derek's son gets thrown back on the field, and like nobody says anything. They're in like a championship game, and he gets thrown on this field, and then people are just like, "Oh, where'd you come from?" And then he just goes in the game like nothing happened. We didn't miss him on the team bus. This doesn't make any sense.
I just needed to get that last.
Liam's there. Liam has like 6 lines of dialogue, and that's it. And he moved to Japan.
That was great. I'm glad I got that last little bit out of you. That was fun.
I'm becoming the very thing I sort of was. Oh no, I'm on my Anakin arc for watching movies.
Oh man! All right, next week Marvel Phase 4. It's gonna be fun.
Yeah, I can't wait.
Because we haven't properly discussed a lot of this on the podcast.
We had the first part. I mean, Loki season finale.
What was the first thing that we talked about? Phase 4 was.
Phase 4 was.
Was it Shang-Chi?
I think it was Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi was our 4th or like our 6th episode or something like that.
That was the first Phase 4 thing that we discussed on this podcast. Yep. Oh, I can't wait to watch that again.
Oh yeah. That's. I genuinely think that's the best movie from Phase 4.
Better than Black Panther?
It's the second best movie in Phase 4.
Yeah, man, I can't wait. That's gonna be fun. So from the
careful.
How do I do this?
I'm either dead, a child, or a broken man. So.
Oh man, how am I going to do this? There was like 4 people in the episode, from the crushed rubble zombie infected person of the podcast.
Okay.
No. From the, I guess you would be the frank, optimistic, Teen Wolf aside, Teen Wolf review aside. You are the effervescent optimist. So yeah.
I believe in the DC. I believe in Harvey Dent.
You would be the Frank of the podcast.
Hey man, you just gotta look. And this is the thing we love, right? And like so many people claim to love this stuff. Like, why do you hate so much?
Yeah.
It just doesn't compute with me.
What about Teen Wolf though?
I don't hate it. I don't hate that movie. I don't hate anything. It's just It's just turn your brain off and go watch it if you like Teen Wolf. That's it.
If you say so.
I got myself hyped for that movie because it's back.
See?
My guilty pleasure show was back, and I needed the satisfaction.
See what you did?
And then they did the TVMA rating, which like the first F word got me. I was like, okay.
Gritty Teen Wolf reboot.
And then there was nudity, and I was like, this is a shell shock from before. And
just wait till they do the Riverdale movie.
Jesus.
That's going to be incredible.
Remember when Riverdale was about Archie solving a mystery?
Yep.
And then they basically turned into the MCU?
Yep. It's great.
One day.
My only my only thing that I regret not ever having done was, how did we not get John Bernthal on there to do Archie Meets the Punisher? I don't understand how that happened. How did we let that one slide? How did we get that one? How did we get a Sabrina the Teenage Witch crossover, but we couldn't get a Punisher crossover? He could still call him Red. It still works.
Yeah, true.
See you around, Red. Imagine John Bernthal in the Riverdale universe squaring off with Cheryl, who's the Green Hero. You wait till we do a Riverdale retrospective. It's going to be bananas.
That episode's going to be nuts.
Malt
Absolutely
milkshakes
nuts.
for everybody when we do that episode.
Milkshakes, witchcraft, Sabrina the Teenage Witch. It's going to be something.
Dead bodies.
Dead bodies.
Football.
I had to sell crack to support my grandmother, and you must have never felt the trials and tribulations of high school football. What?
I love that show so much. All right, guys. We'll see you next week. We gotta go, man. We'll see you next week for Marvel stuff. Until then, goodbye.
Peace.